So the story was unpredictable and also ambiguous, with Silver Fox and Wolverine being flawed, with Wolverine killing people in revenge and Silver Fox lying to him, and Victor having compassion for his brother, and Stryker being understandably vengeful. He hates mutants as he thinks they threaten America because his son killed his wife. And the film is also original in a lot of parts. The mentor who would help Wolverine get his revenge betrays him, he actually successfully fights his vengefulness, and the person he's taking revenge for turns out to have lied to him. And he still loses a lot while changing, and both of his sides have a chance of taking him over, instead of him being a mildly flawed hero or a mildly compassionate villain. And his cruel brother does care for him, and he simply became angry at him and wanted revenge because he felt abandoned. And when his brother saved him, he wanted to be nice to him again, and they made up. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. How were Victor and Wolverine's rivalries underexplained? Wolverine left Victor as he was too violent, and as a result he felt abandoned and wanted to get his attention by hurting him and prove that he was better, as he always wanted to prove to himself that he was the strongest warrior of the group, as he's a very competitive person, and he felt the need to be stronger when he saw his younger brother was the best person for the experiment. And Wolverine wants revenge on him as he destroyed his peaceful life and is very angry at him as a result, as he feels as though he's just a violent monster. Although he eventually also remembered the good times they had, and when they fight together, they become a team again, and Victor realizes he needs to help him as they are brothers. This is of course naive though. Your brothers have no loyalty. They just backstab you and they see a chance for cruelty. They are worth nothing. Hey, anyone want some chocolate? It's very nice and very healthy too. Really? No. Really? Also, he says he'd rather form his own story out of bits and pieces of X2, which I guess involves Wolverine being forced into the experiment, although Stryker said that he volunteered to it and seemed to offer him some form of truth as to get him on his side, and that he is losing his memories. The experiment, which basically condenses all of this to just one origins event of him being forced into the experiment by the military and losing his memory as a result, and is very simple and basic. Yet he doesn't remember anything from what happened after the experiment, even though he lost his memory before it, and he doesn't know the base he fled from when he built his new memories from the moment that he was in the base, escaping from it, and apparently that Stryker wants to recruit this guy that he easily captured before by means of negotiating, even though he didn't do that before, and then told him he volunteered his lie while being threatened, yet still blatantly insulting him. Okay, everybody got that? And that Wolverine, I guess, grew to be a civilized human being again after the experiment, even though after he lost his memory, he was more aimless than evil. And if he had been violent, it would be weird to grow from that into just apathetic and still cold. Or that he was forced into the procedure because he wasn't that strong a fighter, yet afterwards when he became indestructible, but not stronger, escaped Stryker with ease, and he never tried to re-recruit him in spite of him being easily restrained, and because his brother couldn't survive the procedure and he was one of a kind, he would, by forcing him while he was still vulnerable, threaten to kill Wolverine. Even though he's only one of his kind, which is stated in X2 even. Yet he would still risk to kill him, even though he could just manipulate him, which is what he does in X2. Okay, everybody got that as well? And so he didn't at all manipulate him, even though that is exactly what is happening in X2. People really discard continuity when it fits them. Stryker was very open to Logan when he told him of his past, and he told him he volunteered, and Wolverine couldn't remember what happened after the procedure, and they tried to erase it after the procedure, and said that they wanted to erase his memory, which is what he heard on the water, hence the memory in X2 where he hears that he will have no memory during the procedure. It shows that he remembered that they wanted to purposely erase it, which explains that the military indeed somehow was responsible for it being erased, but it only happened later. Oh, and by the way, people don't willingly lose their memory. Except for when they are Protestants. Then they willingly forget Christians already were called Catholics in the year 80. To those saying, quit the Bible lessons? No, because you clearly need them. Really. Also, he says the stakes need to be more than Wolverine wants revenge. Revenge is justice, it is fairness. That is what the justice system is for, punishing evil people. You shouldn't make justice personal, as shown in Batman Begins, and you should try to fight corruption as a whole. But all Wolverine knows is personal violence since he was a child, and now with his wife being killed by his brother, it is all he has left. And yes, she turns out to be alive at the end, but so what? He suffered great pain and he was being manipulated, and the whole point of this is that he's being manipulated and he's being led on a false path. So it's supposed to totally turn around on itself at the end. About the meaning of revenge, to quote the Catholic Bible. Oh wait, no, I never read the Bible. I need to ask the priest about that. He'll tell me what it says on that. The Broly says that you should never ever forgive someone, not even once. That would be silly. I mean, imagine forgiving someone 3 times, or 5 or 7, or always. Silly. Also, he says the stakes must be higher than Wolverine losing his memory. Why? Isn't your memory important? Yes, Wolverine cannot easily be killed. The danger in his stories is in survival. Do you really view physical threats as the most compelling? And Captain Logan complains it doesn't explore the opening stories, but these were set up. We see where Wolverine was born and what kind of parents he had and how he killed his father, which also explains and allows us to understand his bond with his brother and why he joined the army and how he ended up joining Stryker, to understand why he left him and why Stryker would want to go after him and how he got involved in this conspiracy, to understand why he abandoned Stryker, to know why his brother is vengeful, how he had a violent past, and now Stryker is now trying to set him up to go back into his violent past by using his loved ones and his good side against him. This is all to set up the main conflict, which is explored very well. We learn how they got Wolverine to join the experiment, that they had him arrange to love someone who became his wife, and that they arranged to use his brother who hated him to act like he killed her and kill his partners to make him rejoin the army. And we see that he really loved his wife and felt as though he lost everything when he lost her, that he for a while actually lived a peaceful life and was happy not to kill people, and how Stryker used him for the experiment and how he escaped. And so we see he served in the army, that he was violent, killing people and killing his father. He had tried to start a peaceful life by becoming a woodchopper and having a loving wife that got pulled back in the violence through trickery, and that he didn't want to be an animal but was hurt by Stryker and his brother, who killed his wife to hurt him to convince him to become an animal again, that they used his heart, which is a really clever tragic twist, against him. We now learn why Wolverine volunteered, because they used his heart against him, and we learn he is extremely old and killed his real father after he killed his adoptive father and served in the army, so he had a really rough life. And we see what work he did for Stryker and how he was used to create the healing factor for Weapon 11, and we see how Stryker tried to erase his memory and how he escaped and how they chased him down, convincing him to fight Stryker and to become an animal towards him, and how he learned his brother worked together with him, and we see him discover how his wife worked with them and feeling betrayed, seeing the whole plan uncovered, and that he was broken by Stryker's manipulation. And we learn his brother hated him because he felt abandoned by the fact that he left him. And we learn that his brother took part in hurting him to get a skeleton to defeat him, and also to get his attention and to get his personal revenge. And we also learn of how Stryker captured mutants, using fellow mutants to capture them, and how he used Wolverine's brother for this. And we learn Wolverine's wife helped deceive him because they held her sister, and she needed help to get her released. But that Stryker was tricking her, and we see Wolverine actually, along with his wife, figured out Stryker's scheme and came to oppose him and helped free many mutants, and that with the help of Xavier they escaped, and Cyclops was recruited, and we see that Wolverine's brother had a change of heart and helped him fight Weapon 11. Oh, by the way, on a side note, let's talk about homosexuals. I don't really have anything against them. They have their own personal lifestyle, they don't hurt anyone with that. And I don't think God would judge people for pursuing their own taste, or that he would want to control people like that. He gave us free will for a reason. What's important is that we don't hurt people. I mean, it's not even in the 10 Commandments, and Jesus talked about forgiveness, and he was nice towards prostitutes, so I think that Christian parents can be quite mean to them. But on the other hand, I don't really agree with the political correct stance either, because I don't think it's wrong to say that you don't think it's healthy, because things that go against natural behavior and against natural instincts can be unhealthy and strange. I mean, we also call things like OCD and many other sexual fetishes perverse. We don't want to kill people over it, but we don't have to say that it's normal or equal, so I don't really see what's wrong with that. And I also don't see why you can't try to cure it, or why you should even avoid that, because, well, what's the harm in trying it? I mean, forcing someone to stop being homosexual is wrong, but if you just try it. I mean, often you can influence your own taste, even when they're partially physical, and sexual taste can often be influenced. People often influence their taste on many other levels, and people often influence their natural desires. So why wouldn't that apply there? But I really am not extreme on this, and there's not a lot of hate. It's kind of at the point not really makes a lot for comedic values, and I probably have both sides against me now, and I'm gonna be called a heretic. And so we learned that they parted, and that Wolverine lost his wife due to her getting shot, and that Stryker shot him with adamantium bullets to erase his memory because he was a threat, showing how even when he opposed Stryker, the dangers of this conflict still caught on with him. That is how he lost his wife's memory. So we now have learned where he comes from, how old he is, what job he had, why he worked for Stryker, what he took part in, how Stryker used him, how he opposed him, the rivalries he had, and how he lost his memory. Also, you don't know what it is like to have your wife be killed by your brother on the influence of a guy with a hammer and sunglasses. Not that it ever occurred to me. And Captain Logan also complains the support of mutants detract from Wolverine's characterization, but they are a natural part of his story and character development. His wife and brother shape who he is, and why he wanted revenge, and how he used to be a happy person. The mutants on the team are there briefly to show he was part of a mutant military team, and Gambit helped him find the island, and the mutants on the island were the people he was gonna save, and were parts of Stryker's experiments. Also, he says X2 already told us all the interesting stuff about the Weapon X project. Well, what did they tell us? All they told us was that Stryker experimented on mutants and probably experimented on Wolverine. That's it. Here we learn why Wolverine participated, what his role was, his relationship with Stryker, how he lost his memory, how he was threatened by Stryker, how he was manipulated, the rivalries he had, and his personal life. Oh, and we do need to know how he lost his memory, because that is the basis of what kind of person he became in the original trilogy, and his being abused was the key to how he was, and we cannot assume it was during the procedure, as they were only planning it then, as again, he couldn't remember what happened after the procedure either. Now on to the... No, wait, first another. And cops claimed they were the first Christians. Interesting, as they came from goddamn Egypt! It's blasphemy. Anywho, so the story is fantastic and very well sets up the original X-Men films. And then we have the character development. All the characters are really deep in this film and have detailed relationships, and Wolverine has a fantastic arc and is an immensely deep character in this film. It was already one of the greatest characters ever in the first 3 films, but here he's made extremely deep, and he's even better than in any of the original films, and is given great background and great backstory. And we get the answers to all the questions we've been waiting for such a long time. Wolverine is really deep in this film, in that we see that he's brave and warm, loving, happy and idealistic, relaxed yet violent, vengeful, sadistic, stressed and depressed, sad, stubborn and obsessed, pragmatic, hot-headed and lonely. Captain Logan complains we don't really see his animalistic side, that we don't really see him being violent, because after he's been violated by the Weapon X project, he has dinner with some old folks in the country. He says we get more of the same when we see him before he lost his memory, that he would be rough and tumbled and have a temper, but also a heart, and do anything to protect his friends and go after those that hurt his friends. Well, no, first of all, we see him being happy and relaxed, something he wasn't in the original films. We see the strong identity he had before he lost everything. Also, he doesn't just have a temper, he starts off being a vengeful, cold-hearted warrior, and after he overcomes this, he's really happy and relaxed. And he eventually loses everything and becomes violent and destructive. He wants to kill for pure revenge, not just to protect his friends. He went after people who hurt his friends in the original trilogy, but only to help them, not for pointless revenge. And he becomes obsessed and breaks a bar apart after he was violated by the Weapon X project. He at first was nice to those old folks, that was his kind of side, but when they get killed, he gets even more revengeful and determined, and becomes sadistic and cruel, killing that helicopter pilot after he was defeated, threatening the Blob and nearly killing Victor. The only moment he killed someone in cold blood in the original trilogy was for Stryker at the end of X2. Well, and also we do see his violent and aggressive warrior side when he's in the army, when we see him brutally kill many people just for a job without us having any sort of purpose automatically in saving people, because he also fights in the pointless First World War. And Wolverine still has principles, caring for the innocent, but he is a lot more obsessive and merciless, and he has a lot more extreme of a nature, being happy and relaxed and having a clear identity at some point, yet being a lot more violent and aggressive when things go wrong. And though, hold on for a moment, the priest asked me to take part in the morning prayer. Hey guys, bite me. Anywho,